Coming up next on Arizona Horizon's Journalists Roundtable, Governor Ducey calls for a halt to new refugees in the state, and lawmakers urge education leaders to settle their feud over access to teacher records. The Journalists Roundtable is next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon's Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining us tonight, Mike Sunnix of the Phoenix Business Journal, Bob Christie of the Associated Press, and Luigi Del Puerto of the Arizona Capital Times. Governor Ducey this week announced that he opposes the entry of any new refugees into Arizona. This after the attacks in Paris that killed 130 people and wounded hundreds more. He didn't say just Syrian refugees. He doesn't want to see any new refugees.
Yeah, the governor's joined a chorus of mostly Republicans out there, a lot of governors, about half the states, obviously the most Republicans in Congress, calling for various suspensions of the number of refugees coming in after the Paris attacks. At least one of the attackers, they believe, came in this wave of migrants from Syria and other war-torn countries, and so they had a Syrian passport, whether it's fake or real, show up at the attack, one of the attack scenes. And so there's a lot of Republicans out there, but there's also a few Democrats, wanting for various suspensions of new folks coming in, and so that's reached a lot of resistance from the Obama administration, which is committed to this. But it's kind of a partisan issue. But there are a few Democrats on each side. But Arizona has a kind of a long history of accepting a lot of refugees. We
among
have folks,
the top states.
Yeah, per capita, more than some liberal states like California and New York.
And I want to get to the bill in Congress in a second, especially Kyrsten Sinema's vote on that bill. But as far as the governor, he can request consultation, and he got consultation, did he not?
He got consultation under I believe it's the 1980 Refugee Resettlement Act, a federal law. The State Department has to consult with the states where they place people. But it doesn't, the law doesn't describe what that consultation entails. It doesn't say that states can reject them. It doesn't say anything else. But the governor demanded a consultation. A whole bunch of governors got on a conference call on Tuesday night with the White House, some senior officials, who briefed them on the refugee program and the vetting process. He, after that, said that did not meet my view of what the law requires for consultation. I want more issues. And he wants, he said today, and he said all week, that his job is to protect Arizona citizens, and he wants any new resettlement into the United States from anywhere stopped until his concerns are addressed.
Right, and to answer your question, the governors of the states do not really have the authority to stop refugees from settling into their states, and that's because immigration, of course, is a federal purview. We know that very well in Arizona because we fought the feds on that front several times. And so that's why it's a request to the feds to ensure that before they resettle in new refugees to our state, that there's enough vetting, and that the governor wanted this. In fact, the law that he was referring to had required quarterly consultations with the state. Now, I asked the governor's office, I said, well, when was the last time you had a consultation with the feds? And they could not really give an answer. They were trying to figure out when that one exactly, when that happened.
There's two legitimate things here. We have a history in this state, in this country, of accepting refugees. Humanitarian concerns are there. People are being obviously persecuted, Muslims, Christians, others, and so there's a worldwide push to help these folks. But then, the governors have a point that there are security concerns out there, and the question is, how do you background check some of these folks when they're coming from countries and parts of the world where they might not even have passports or IDs, or we don't know their backgrounds and stuff. And this has all been obviously magnified by what went on in Paris.
And of course, what set our governor apart from the other governors is the fact that he is asking for a halt to all refugees, not just Syrians, which is the focus of most governors. They don't want people from refugees from Syria and Iraq to resettle here. The governor said no, everybody. That means Cuban refugees, for example, we've been accepting them here. Refugees from Burma, for example, we have accepted a whole number of them. There are refugees from the most troubled areas of the world that we have been accepting over several decades, and he wants to stop to all of them.
I want to get back to the consultation aspect, because almost like the next day, these 19, 20 some odd governors, they got on a conference call. You had the FBI, Homeland Security, State Department, White House officials all telling them the process for vetting refugees. Governor next day says that's not good enough. He wants a formal consult. What does he want? The information was presented. What more does he want?
He hasn't specifically laid out what he wants. He said that the briefing that he received directly from federal government officials did not meet the requirements, and he has not gone out and said any more of what he actually wants, what kind of consultation he wants. I think, you had someone on the program, you had Paul Bender, the ASU professor, law professor on the program earlier in the week, who said, there is no definition in the federal law as to what the consultation must entail. And what I got from that, and I have not read the law, and I'm not a lawyer, but from the law professor, is that they've met the requirements. They've consulted. The governor has no right to reject their consultation, but this is political. The Governor Ducey, as Luigi said, is a little more nuanced than some governors are, but it's a political issue. We generally see a split. There are some Democrats on board, but mainly Republican governors.
Those Republicans, this is a kind of a lack of confidence in the president's policies. A lack of confidence you hear from Republicans on his response to ISIS, his JV team remark, his remarks since then. And I think they look at immigration where they don't trust the administration on how they handle illegal immigrants sometimes. And so I think this stems from that, is they don't trust him on all these other issues, so why should they trust the administration on this?
Is he confusing, though, refugees in Europe, the crisis in Europe, with the resettlement program in the United States, in which a whole lot of vetting goes on for refugees?
You're absolutely right about the vetting process. I don't think the governor is confused about the two. I mean, they're vastly different. Europe's borders are quite porous compared to ours. I mean, you have to cross the Atlantic to get here, among other things. But I understand where the governor is coming from. What he's trying to do is trying to reassure the citizens of this state that they are going to be safe, and that he's making what he is doing what he can do insofar as what's legally allowed to make those assurances. I pressed the governor's spokesperson. I said, what kind of oversight, what kind of consultation do you want? Do you want to see, what kinds of assurances do you want to see from the feds in order for you to say, yeah, it's okay, it's fine, we'll accept those new refugees? And they can't really say, because the governor as a spokesperson was saying, look, we want to have that consultation first. We want to be briefed about how this program works, and then at that point, we'll have questions. We'll go from there, right. which is quite vague. But again, I spoke with someone, Donna Magnusson, who's from the International Refugee Committee. She's the executive director over there, and I asked her about this particular issue, and I said, so what do you make of the governor's stance? And he said, look, the one thing that people are missing is that this process is very thorough, it's very intensive, and the refugee population is the most vetted population that's coming in, that's allowed entry into the United States. And she said it takes about 2 years to go through this vetting process.
But they'll just point out that if one ISIS person is allowed in, then we have a problem. You look at the Boston Marathon bombers, they were refugees. They were radicalized after they came here, but they were refugees. And they can point, so while the numbers all work kind of against the Republican argument against this, they have the lone wolf type thing, the one person infiltrates things, and then we have an issue.
And the numbers as far as voters, as far as public opinion polls show that they are on the right side of that, and so much so that Representative Kyrsten Sinema, who was once the president of like a nonprofit refugee settlement program and argued at one time that the process took too long and was too strict, she voted for the Republican plan in the House.
Right. She was one of 47 Democrats in the House who broke with their party and supported this. That's a goodly number. That's I don't know if it's quite enough to overcome a presidential veto or not, but it's a large number. Kyrsten Sinema is in a swing district. She obviously has. I mean, there's a lot of folks who believe she has aspirations for higher office. This is an issue that could damage her in an election if she did not break with the Democrats. So, she hasn't explained, other than she's echoed what a lot of the Democrats said, which is, it makes sense to add this extra layer of pause time to this refugee program to make sure the vetting is right.
Well, it would certainly help her in a general election if she runs statewide for something. It would help her in a general election. People generally, a gut reaction, think we should take a pause in this. And her and Matt Salmon have worked on a number of issues. They introduced a new bill this week to tighten up some of the visa waivers that people have. If you come from Europe or Japan or Korea, you can pretty much travel, your business travel or church, you can pretty much travel throughout the country for 3 months without freely. But they're putting some language there. If if you visit Afghanistan or Syria or Iraq or Iran, then you don't get that waiver.
That seems relatively reasonable, I would imagine, to most folks. I mean, certainly polling would indicate as such.
Well, to most folks, you're right. They think it's reasonable. Kirsten Sinema is arguing, as do other Republicans, that, look, what we need to do is just put this extra layer of protection, if you will. So what the bill does, what this legislation does, are twofold, essentially. One is it requires another background check by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and then at that point it requires three security agencies to certify to Congress that the person that's coming into the U.S. is safe, is not a threat to the community. You asked about Kirsten Sinema, why she's voted this way. You know, she is in a swing district. She has aspirations for higher office. And the other thing that I've looked just very quickly at her voting record, I think she's voted, just broken away from her party on bills that more or less are destined to die. They're not going to go anywhere in the Senate, or the governor, or rather the president has said he is going to veto them.
Yeah, indeed, it's the Senate. The Democratic leaders in the Senate are already saying
One interesting thing is Senator McCain has kind of downplayed this refugee issue. He's done it kind of repeatedly this week, along with Lindsey Graham, saying, okay, maybe we should have a suspension, maybe more background checks, but Republicans are kind of overplaying it a little bit, because there's plenty of other threats, and this is probably not the odds-on threat for people to come in here and do something.
A couple of interesting notes. First off, the governor, Governor Ducey, is a strong Catholic. This is the second or third time recently that he's broken with the Catholic Church. When he visited with the Pope called for an end of the death penalty. I talked to him after that, and he says, no, I'm going to uphold the law. I'm not going to go there. I talked to him today, and he said, no. You know, the Conference of Catholic Bishops said this is a wrong idea. These are people who really need the United States to reach out for them, to help embrace them. They're fully vetted, and we disagree with the politicians who are doing this. So.
And to that point, it's really quite interesting, because the evangelical Christian community has put out, I mean, there are various organizations, but those national organizations have put out statements basically saying, look, let's not go there. And when I mean let's not go there, they're saying, look, this refugee process, this vetting process is thorough. Those people, and basically they're saying we should make a distinction between terrorists, and we should go after them, stop them from coming into the U.S., and their victims. I mean, these families are victims of terror. They're trying to flee the terror in their countries, and we should make those distinctions. And it's important this evangelical Christian organization, even the Catholic Church, are saying we make sure that we make those distinctions.
Yeah, you're seeing a split within Republicans almost. Jeb Bush and some other have called, well, maybe we should accept Christians because they're really getting hurt, along with other religious minorities, by ISIS. Maybe we should let them in. That's creating a bit of a schism, too.
All right, let's get to education leaders are now... This is a weekly topic on this program in some way, shape, or form, the Department of Education and or Superintendent Diane Douglas. But now lawmakers are saying, Douglas and Department, Board of Education, knock it off, get together, work together, because student safety is at risk here.
Correct. On at least one issue. There's a couple of fights going on between the Board of Education and the Department of Education, which is run by Diane Douglas, the superintendent. But the issue that they came out this week and told them to knock it off on and to settle was the investigators who work for the Department of Education, or the Board of Education, who actually are involved in deciding whether teachers' teaching certificates should be revoked. We're talking about teachers accused of misconduct of all times, from molestations to drugs to other issues, where those investigators have to have access to the Department of Education's files. And right now they have to leave their offices, drive 6 blocks to Diane's office, go up, be escorted to access the electronic files. This letter came out, and both sides reiterated their long-time position, which is, just give us the access, says the board. Just come over to my office,
right,
says Diane Douglas.
And apparently Senate President Andy Biggs, along with other Senate leaders, they're saying that, again, we're talking about records of teacher performance, perhaps safety issues for students. Figure it out.
The safety issue was a major concern for the Senate leadership. They're basically saying, look, I understand your fight. You have some legal disputes that you have to work on, go through, and at some point maybe resolve, but we need to make sure that our students are safe. And Bob's right. The Board of Education basically said, just give us access, all will be fixed. And Dan Douglas said, Well, look, we're not really talking about investigators in the sense of real investigators. She's saying the people who investigate those teachers are police officers, and these investigators, what they do is they confirm that the person being investigated is in fact the holder of that certificate, and then at that point they decide whether to revoke or suspend that certificate. And so she's saying our children are not in harm's way. There's no question about that, is what she's saying.
Your average person out there, business owner, anybody paying, what a waste of time they have to think about this. You know, we have a lot of educational challenges here. We've talked about this before. This, how much we spend in classrooms, classroom size, how we design schools, all these things. And every time there's a chance to have a turf battle down there on everything, they take advantage of this. And it should be noted that this hasn't gone on before under previous Republican and Democratic instructors, the superintendents. This is under one person.
Well, and maybe this time the legislature will do something about this dispute. You know, remember they had a chance to basically decide whose authority is, who has authority over which employees, and they could not get that bill through. And so maybe next year we'll see something that essentially that would decide who is in charge of who.
I don't know if they really care though. I mean, it probably takes the governor to kind of push something through, but I don't know if there's a collective will there in both chambers to get this through.
It sounded like the Senate did something, but the House was.
The Senate passed a bill. Diane Douglas was on board. The governor's office was on board. The Senate was nearly unanimous, if memory serves right, or unanimous. It went to the House, and then the House, it somehow or another got bogged down in. And there was an issue in Wyoming a few years ago where the governor took all the power away from the superintendent of public instruction. There was a group of Republicans in the House who said, this is similar, we don't want to vote for it, and the bill died. What Senate President Andy Biggs said today is, listen, as Luigi said, you guys have your legal fights, but this is easy. Make a one-page agreement that says, we're going to allow the access, we're going to put this aside, this doesn't meet legal precedent. We can keep duking it out on court, but let's just get this done. And it doesn't look like from the responses that it's going to happen.
I don't think, Mike's right. It probably takes the governor's office to say, look, we need to do something about this one. Let's fix this one once and for all. But if this is such a big issue to Senate President Andy Biggs and the leadership in the Senate, they themselves can push this bill. There are all sorts of mechanisms and strategies that they can use to ensure that the House does get something about it. I mean, if they're talking about the safety of children, which they believe this issue is about, then they can do something about it.
All right. It sounds like someone tried to stop the tribal casino yet again, try to do something about that, but the tribe just keeps winning over and over again. Now, this Congress basically not enough votes to block the casino, correct?
Yeah, they tried to kind of fast track a vote through the House without debate, kind of on this procedural calendar. So they kind of need a supermajority. They couldn't quite get it. So the Tohono keep winning. They win in the federal courts because of this 1986 land exchange law. This bill, which has been pushed for a while by the other Salt River and Gila River tribes and Trent Franks and John McCain, who get a fair amount of contributions from those folks. It's gone up before. They just can't seem to get it through. The tribe, the Tohono, plan on opening some limited slots out there before Christmas. So we'll actually see something out there. But they still have to go through some of the fights with the state over more formal gaming license that would allow them to have blackjack.
Yeah, I think the first phase opens December 20th, and I think the Gila River Indian community says we're not done with this. We're going to keep fighting this.
Yeah, they're not. Now, procedurally in the House, it didn't go through. It didn't go through on the supermajority vote. It can still come back. That passed 2 years in a row in the House, and then it never got out of the Senate. But now we have a different Senate majority. We have a Republican majority over in the Senate, and John McCain and Jeff Flake are both on board. So it could conceivably, it had enough votes to pass on a normal.
Interesting side note is that this would block a casino until 2027.
Yes.
Right.
And they could sue, and that could be $1 billion in damages.
You get a lawsuit involved here, and Luigi, you got all sorts of things could possibly happen.
Well, yeah, the one thing that I think is sure is that if the House, U.S. Congress passes something that would stop this casino from opening or being able to open, there's going to be a lawsuit. I think that's the one thing that's certain.
It would be an illegal taking lawsuit,
Yes.
which is, and they might have a good chance to win. They've got $250 million invested in this casino already, or $200 million. They've got 1,000 slot machines in there ready to fire up. They're bingo-style slot machines, but they're about the same.
And you have a gaming compact that ends in 2027, but that could get nicked, dinged, and otherwise altered as well.
It's quite an interesting fight.
Yes, it is. All right, state jobless rate 6.3% last month, in September, 6.1% in October. A little bit of a drop, not too bad, nothing to get excited about, but still it's the right direction.
Yeah, I think 33,000 or so jobs, most of them private sector. And we see some really soft months in terms of private sector job growth. Still the same challenges. It's retail, it's wholesale trade, it's call centers, it's restaurants and bars. We're not seeing the kind of robust higher wage industries, but that's kind of usual for seasonal stuff. We're coming up on the holidays. It's a little better. Republicans always look at the labor participation rate. They love looking at that thing. It's 56% of kind of adults in the state are working. That number's still kind of hanging around there. So the job market's not bad, still kind of soft.
Yeah, it's 60,000 year over year. We've added 60,000 jobs, and that's a very good thing. But Mike's right. In fact, Jim Rounds, an economist in the state, basically said we have a moderate pace of job growth, and those jobs yield moderate wages, which really is our problem. Our problem is trying to attract those high wage jobs and trying to create an environment that would that would create, or not just create those jobs, but attract those jobs from out of state. And it's been real difficult for us to do that.
And those are the jobs that drive tax growth. They're the high wage jobs. They're people who pay lots of taxes because they're earning $100,000 or $120,000 a year, proportionally speaking, and they spend more, and so they spend more in sales tax. They buy bigger houses. They pay more in property tax. That all drives the economy.
And we should mention, again, the national unemployment rate is down at 5.0%, so we're still a full percentage. I mean, it's still higher than the national. Why is that?
Right, and you see, Arizona has had this history. When we have downturns and we're adding jobs, we're adding more jobs than anybody else or most anybody else in the state. That's been our history. That's not the case this time. In fact, when the economy goes very well or is doing well, we've always done better than the national average. We're not seeing that. The question in my mind, of course, is what the legislature does, what the governor does, when they look at these jobs numbers, and whether they decide, well, maybe we need another tax cut to spur the kind of economic growth and attract those kinds of jobs that we need to see. I'm almost certain we'll see those kinds of arguments crop up again next year.
Well, the governor talked today to the Tax Research Association, and I was there, and Howie was there, and a bunch of other reporters are there. And we talked to him afterwards, and the first thing he said is, the tax cuts that we passed this year, which were relatively small, they did 2 or 3 small tax cuts, one which indexed it so that if you get a raise this year, you don't get bumped into a higher tax bracket. He said that's the first start of my plan to cut taxes every year I'm in office, income taxes, and that we will be looking at targeted taxes again. And the reason is that we need to have a climate of low tax climate to draw those good jobs.
The challenge is we're competing with Texas, Nevada, Florida, these states with zero income tax, and they have revenue streams, whether it's oil and gas or tourism and gaming, that allow them to do that. We don't have that. Our population growth is still tepid historically, and we're still reliant on that and real estate. And home building is not back nationally or here the way it was. That creates not only construction jobs, but all these title companies, all these finance companies, all these office jobs.
Right.
That's why our office vacancy rate's still 20%.
And to answer my original question, one of the reasons why we can't seem to get past the national average is we had a worse situation here than the national average as far as the recession.
We did, and not only did we have the overall recession, but the housing industry made up a larger proportion of our economy than other states. And we were, Arizona was among the hardest hit of any state in shedding construction jobs. We all know what happened.
And that really is the ultimate question for the state. How do we diversify our economy so we're not so reliant on one industry, in this case the housing industry? Even in the jobs market, the latest jobs market, the housing industry didn't gain as many jobs as we would like it to see. In fact, the growth in the housing industry has been tepid for many, many years, and that's always been a problem because we are reliant on that industry. The question is, how do you diversify, and how could you do it fast enough so that we're growing at a level that we would like to see? I mean, that really is the big question.
You had mentioned earlier that you had spoke to the governor today on a variety of issues. Last time we had a chance to speak with the governor, it was an interesting situation at the governor's office. I want to take a shot here of myself and the governor speaking in the governor's office. And as you will see, between us is a Cardinal football helmet, which I thought was a little curious. I mean, it's flowers, a little garden display, something along that. It's a football helmet.
It's a coach's show.
It all makes sense now, Mike Sunix, because apparently He's going to be honored by the Football Foundation. He's a big wheel when it comes to football.
Yeah, he's going to this National Football Foundation Hall of Fame, Leadership Hall of Fame, along with Michael Bidwell, the president of the Cardinals. The family owns the team. Jerry Jones is in this. Chris Christie is in this. So I guess if you host a Super Bowl and you're a governor of a state that built a nice new stadium for NFL team, you get in this club.
With Bill Bidwell, going to be joining in there with Bill Bidwell. Mike Bidwell. Excuse me, Mike Bidwell. He's a big deal in Republican politics, isn't he?
He is. You know, the governor has been seen with Mr. Bidwell multiple times. He had the big economic summit out at University of Phoenix Stadium a few months ago. The governor Mr. Bidwell was there when the governor signed the education funding bill a few weeks ago. He is a supporter of the governor. I think when the governor needs a group of people behind him to back him, Mr. Bidwell is there for him.
All right. Well, congratulations, I guess, to Mike Bidwell and Governor Ducey for making not the NFL Hall of Fame. This is the National Football Foundation Leadership Hall of Fame. Monday on Arizona Horizon, world-renowned physicist Lawrence Krauss returns to discuss the latest in all things science. That's Monday at 5:30 and 10 on the next Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
By contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.